Father Jonathan Meyer here, and I just saw the movie Padre Pio, and I would just like to give some warnings, some recommendations, some theological thought for those of you who would like to go and see it. First and foremost, Padre Pio, rated R for nudity and for language. Stop right there. Some of you should probably not watch the rest of this film. But just know, right there, this is not a happy little cute film that shows the birth of Padre Pio and him skipping through a field and saying, happy, joy, and don't worry. That's not what this film is about. Okay? Rated R for nudity and for strong language. Okay? The F word is used in this film. Okay? I'm your pastor. You should know these things going into this. This film is not at all for kids. It is not at all for kids. And in fact, I don't even know if it's for teenagers. I don't know if most teenagers should see this film. Parents, you're going to have to talk to someone about that before you make that decision. Okay, so this film, as I said, it's not a cute little historical narrative about the life of Padre Pio. This film is a very highly artistic film. The director and producer are trying to, from my interpretation, they're trying to overarchingly show the redemptive suffering that Padre Pio is willfully taking on. And they're trying to show the redemptive suffering that he wants to take on is happening in the village that he's living. That people are dying and suffering in his village, and he wants to take that on. There's a huge connection throughout the entire film between the suffering of the people in his village, which there's a huge emphasis on that, but then what's happening in the friary, in the monastery where Padre Pio is then being attacked by Satan and suffering. That being the case, it's probably good to do a quick history review of the rise of socialism and the rise of Karl Marx and his thought among the people of Italy, and what happened between the world wars. It's probably important for you to understand because this film is about the first free election that takes place in Italy, a huge clash in society between the upper elite and those who are the common people, okay? So it's important to understand that. You clearly see how socialism is taking over the mind and the thought of your average people that are just trying to put food on the table. And that is part of the struggle that happens throughout this film. Now, the character of Padre Pio, for those who understand who Padre Pio is, the character of Padre Pio, played by Shia LaBeouf, is actually excellent. He is a man of reverence. He is a man of prayer. There's a moment where he bilocates. There's a moment where he brings healing to a man who is paralyzed. You see him hearing confessions. You see him gentle and healing the confessional. You also see him stern in confessional, particularly to an unrepentant sinner who it seems to be revealed that Padre Pio actually understands that this individual is actually somehow toying with the life of the devil, as Padre Pio ends up actually asking the individual to actually just say Jesus is Lord, say Jesus is Lord. You see Padre Pio towards the end of the film receive the stigmata. You see Padre Pio literally wrestling with Satan, being thrown across the room by Satan. And then comes the nudity. Now, part of Padre Pio's life is that he was visited and had physical manifestations of Satan, and there were times where Satan would manifest himself as a naked woman because he was a man and he was attracted to women. And this is what is included in the scene in the film. So there is a scene where there is a naked woman, but that naked woman is Satan. Okay. There's also a scene where Padre Pio. I have a statue of St. Francis right here. St. Francis of Assisi and St. Benedict, there are stories of them at the moments of sexual temptation that they would throw themselves into thorn bushes. There is a powerful scene where Padre Pio is actually being attacked by thorns. And you see him, at one point you see his nude backside, but he's being attacked by thorns. I mean, it's not an erotic scene in any type of way. You see a man who is devoted to prayer, who loves the Eucharist. You hear him chanting prayers. You see him distributing Holy Communion. In that sense, if you know Padre Pio, like those scenes are very powerful. I found them very moving, very realistic, and done well. But with the theological understanding of who Padre Pio is, and clearly you hear one of his beautiful prayers where he clearly says, I'm offering all of this for the suffering of my people, which is the connection then of what's happening in the outside world, that his people are suffering terribly, okay? And at the end of the film, it's very, very beautiful. The stigmata scene, I think, is done very, very well. So but it's at the very, very end of the film. There's also in this film, you see not just the upper elite, the upper echelon of Italian culture who are suppressing the peasants, but you also see a wayward priest, a priest who is friendly with the politicians, who at one point is being paid off by the politicians. This same priest actually says the prayers of exorcism over salt and water, and then uses, we're just going to ignore that, uses that exorcised salt and water to go and bless guns that they actually go and then turn on the peasants and attack the peasants with these guns that were blessed by the priest. So the film also has some power, because it is important for us to remember that there are priests that are not like Padre Pio. And Padre Pio offered his life not just for the conversion of the people who lived there in San Giovanni Rotunda who were Catholic, that were lay people, but he also wanted to be an agent of change in the life of priests. So overall, I think like it's a conflicting film. It's an artistic film, highly left up to interpretation. It is not a film that is for everybody. I would say if you know who Padre Pio is, you've actually studied his life and not just the pray, hope, don't worry mentality of Padre Pio. This could be a very powerful film for you to see. If you clearly understand the spiritual battle that's out there, this film might be a powerful film for you. I would say that if you struggle with internet pornography, if images of a naked woman, even though she is Satan, are going to somehow lead you astray, you should not go and see this film. If you have teenage, boys or girls that would be very confused by this, you should not let them see this film. But I do think the film clearly has artistic value, and the film is clearly putting forth the need. So I think sometimes when we look at mystical people that are offering up their lives, that want to be, victims, or they want to do penance or extreme mortifications, we sometimes think that that's all somehow focused on them. Padre Pio was doing penance and mortifications, or Padre Pio got the stigmata for himself. This film, I think, clearly thrusts that out of no, he was doing that for the people. He was offering that for the people, that his life existed outside of himself, which is always the proper understanding. The proper understanding of all of these things is never narcissistic or self-focused. It's always on the focus on the other. So I think just to focus on that. So once again, the film is showing at All Saints Parish during the next few weeks. Just wanted to give these warnings before you go and see the film. And if you see it, enjoy it. If you see it, I hope it helps you in your faith. Hope it helps you in your fight against Satan and to live in your faith all the more united to Padre Pio and united to the saints. So God bless you and have a great evening and a great day.